Hello and namaste, my beautiful friends. I'm Jill Loftus of Nuit Astrology. Welcome to your planetary energy forecast for the week of September the 8th, 2025. Now, as I am recording this, it is currently Friday the 5th. We're preparing for this stationing of Uranus. We have that lunar eclipse coming up on Sunday. And so you're watching this while we're still steeped in that kind of dramatic configuration. Now, I always like to remind everyone, eclipses, they are activators, they're volume up moments, and they can impact us for long periods of time before and after. Sometimes the message of the eclipse does not become obvious on the day of or even the day after. And it's important for you to kind of follow your own chart, your own experience with eclipses. For me, it is almost always the third day. We have the eclipse day, the day after that. I tend to think I've escaped. I'm not going to have any dire or difficult consequences of the eclipse, and then something will happen. And so it's not that I have to stay, hide in my room with the covers over my head for that time period, even though sometimes I might feel like it. But it is just a time to not overschedule the life, not be too focused on forward momentum, striding, confidently trying to achieve something. I get that image of the Five of Swords card where you're just like, really on a mission to get things done, because you're going to need to be adaptable. You're going to need to manage something. Something's going to arise that's going to require your attention. And so staying in that sense of flexibility, kind of like a wrestler stance, like the knees are a little bit bent, right? And you're just kind of like, okay, let's see what the message is. Okay. So that's how we begin this week. Now, the primary flows of energy that we're dealing with this week are actually related to the nodes of fate, the nodes of the moon. Now, you'll recall that the North Node is currently in Pisces, the South Node is currently in Virgo. They stand across the sky from each other, these two signs. And this week we have the Sun approaching what we call a conjunction, a meeting with that South Node in Virgo. And then after that happens, we also then have Mercury in Virgo approaching the conjunction with the two of them. And this, when we have the three planets or points that come together and are less than 3 degrees or less apart from each other, this is what astrologers call a stellium. So I want you to think of these energies as kind of linking arms. So where one goes, the others must go. And so they have to be influenced, modified, affected by those other influences. So the energy doesn't vibrate in a pure sense. It is influenced. So we have the South Node in Virgo, which is really showing us perfectionist tendencies, I've got to go it alone. I was just telling a client this week, Kriyananda used to say that being a Pisces male was the hardest sign to be, and a Pisces female was second. And I have decided that to be a Virgo female is the third, and a Virgo male is the fourth. Because of the idealism, because of that analytical mental capacity that looks at any situation and kind of divides it between this is okay and this is not. This is the right way and this is the wrong way. And this realm, unfortunately, requires more adaptations, a little more flexibility. It often doesn't give us all the information at once, or we can't glean all the information at once. And so even though our minds may be very attached to a certain pattern, a certain way of doing things, it doesn't necessarily give us the creative latitude that's needed. And that's why Pisces stands across the sky, bathed in creativity, compassion, intuition, and all the things that balance the Virgoan personality. But this South Node there, the South Node is depletion, it's decrease, it's digestion, it's release. And so it's really drawing something out of the Virgo part of your life. And if you have Virgo placements, it's really highlighting some of those shadows, some of the difficult aspects, the letting go, what you need to let go of this over control. And the thing is, when we let go of control, sometimes that makes us fearful. sometimes it makes us not bother to do things. It's like, well, I wanted to go this way. It's not going to go that way. So moving on to something else, or, I'll distract myself with something else. Okay. This is something we have to really watch this week. And then with Mercury in Virgo, Mercury loves to be in Virgo, right? Virgo is ruled by the sign or by the planet Mercury. And so this brings a very insightful mental state, a very analytical mental state, this like problem solving skill and ability, which is really wonderful. But again, it can bring these ideals into play where we're not adaptable. We get really rigid, and we have almost like a cold, calculating kind of attitude towards things. And so this is something that we have to watch all week. Now, in a positive sense, Jupiter is beaming gorgeous energy to both the nodes, the Sun and Mercury this week. So Jupiter is in the sign of Cancer, and Jupiter loves to be in that sign. All right. And so the more that we can lean into intuition with that beautiful analytical edge to it, right? We're not just disappearing into the dream state or the creative state, or balancing it with a reality. This is how we can really create ideas that solve problems, right? We can think the new thought. We can come up with the new idea. We can be open to new information that will help us to move forward. And so I think that this will really help us to integrate whatever changes or challenges were created by this Pisces lunar eclipse as we prepare for the somewhat tense solar eclipse that's coming up on September the 21st. Now remember, in between eclipses, always a little bit of a tense time period. But really, if you know your chart at all, look at that center of the Virgo. All this is happening around 17, 18, 19, 20 Virgo. Same realm in Cancer with the Jupiter. And same with the Pisces. Look at those areas of life and see where you can take advantage of the fluidity of water, the intuition, the creativity, but grounded in the earth of Virgo, in the practical, in the material, in the real world. Remember that Virgo is also the sign that's associated with health and health habits and healing and being of service and being useful. And truly, if you're struggling with some of the things that are happening in the world, any thoughtful, sensitive person is, there's that deep desire in Virgos to be helpful, to use their insight to help somebody else along, right? You always know you're dealing with a Virgo when they're trying to solve your problem for you instead of just listening to you, which sometimes you only want them to listen, right? Sometimes we want to just complain about our circumstances. This is a very human thing. But the Virgo wants to solve the problem, right? Some problems are unsolvable, at least through the mind, okay? So do something that makes you feel like you're contributing. I always think of the Clarissa Pinkola Estes quote that says, reach out and mend the part of the world that you can reach, right? Do not lament things that are happening that you feel you have no influence on, that are happening thousands of miles away or even down the street. But you can spend time in prayer. You can spend time in meditation. You can help somebody around you. You can reach out to somebody you know who's having a tough time and see if, they want to go to lunch or something. I mean, take these small practical steps that make you feel useful. And this is part of how we will make our way through the week. Now, the one date that I really want to bring in, there's two of them. One, on September the 10th, the moon is void from 2:54 a.m., so East Coast time, right? Adjust for your time zone until 4:03 p.m. Eastern. So this is very much a lost day. So this is on the heels of a lot of this energy, and so we'll be kind of integrating things, but it's a very, again, creative state, moon void days, but they're kind of floaty. Don't sign a contract, don't make a major commitment, don't launch your new business on that day. The 11th probably has the best energy if you're looking for a positive day this week. And then I want to note on the 13th is the Cazimi, and this is when Mercury will get swallowed by the sun. Now, keep in mind, when Mercury joins the stellium midweek, it will maybe feel a little Mercury retrograde. When Mercury gets really close to the sun, that illumination, the brightness of the sun can kind of obscure Mercury. And so, there might be misfires, miscommunications, slowdowns with travel, things like this, Mercury rolled things. Just, calm down. But be prepared on the 13th for that little bit of a wake-up call. And keep in mind, remember, the nodes move in 19-year cycles. And so I want you to look back, 2006, 2007. What were the patterns? What were the themes? What were the beginnings that you can now see are culminating or ending? And so therefore a new cycle is being set. And I think this Cazimi point on the 13th might really bring home that information for you, or bring home that idea. All right. So stay tuned for the Celtic Cross. I'm going to do it on this stellium in Virgo of the South Node, Mercury, and the Sun. And also, just one more highlight for the end of the week, Mars is going to step into an opposition with Chiron. And so this is going to bring up, remember, Mars is in Libra, not feeling very empowered, doesn't really like, checking in with everyone else to see what they're doing. Mars wants to move forward, and Chiron is in Aries. So this could highlight some relationships that are not functioning well, or previous relationship patterns that you've worked on. And this might really show you, oh, look at the work I've done. Or it might expose new avenues of learning that you need to explore in your partnerships. And this could be romantic or business, so keep that in mind. All right, my beautiful friends, let's check out the Celtic Cross. Hello, beautiful friends. Let's take a look at the Celtic Cross on how to best work with this meeting of the South Node, the Sun, and Mercury in Virgo this week. Now, I feel like this is, definitely more towards the end of the week. I feel like the flavor of the eclipse will really be Monday, Tuesday, but then this starts up Wednesday through the end of the week. So let's see, for the collective, what do we need to know about this? How do we best manage this energy? All right, let's take a look. Lots of shuffling today, it appears. Lots of shuffling, my goodness. Okay. Keep going, okay. Alrighty. So the first card is you in the situation, and Six of Wands indicates that there's some visibility here. There's something that you're being appreciated for, admired for. Maybe it's even just something you're appreciating about yourself. What's crossing you is the Chariot. There's also something you really kind of lost track of, lost your way with, got distracted. So there's something you're feeling. That makes sense, right? Virgo's like, come on, there's something you're supposed to be doing. In the past, Three of Cups, you've definitely had some positive experiences with this Virgo South Node. Future, the World will love it. I love it. Okay, so yeah, there's something here that's really pushing us towards achievement or success. Now, crowning thoughts, Three of Pentacles, yes, we've already put in the groundwork. Subconsciously, ooh, the Lovers. So, wow, maybe it's that Jupiter connection. This is something really good. Advice, Nine of Pentacles. Now, I call this the independent woman card. This indicates, you don't have to be a female. It's just, wow, I'm really feeling empowered. I have the money. I have the intelligence. I have the savvy. I have the gifts. I have the talents. Also, I get to do it my way. So, do it your way. Outside influence, Knight of Wands. Clearly, you can't let it sit anymore. It is time to take action. What do you want to happen? Five of Cups. Well, unfortunately, you're pretty focused on the negative. This is a very Virgo trait, but you need to focus on the positive. So even that you've maybe been looking at the downside more than you've been looking at the upside. And the outcome? Well, interesting. The devil. What's up with that? Let's take a look at the reader's fan. So this could indicate passion. This could indicate addiction. This could indicate darker forces in play, overspending, overdoing, overing. Let's look at the reader's fan. Now, these cards are not as strong. Five of Pentacles. There's definitely a financial angle here. We're worried about the money. Two of Wands. There's also some decision that will need to be made. Hanging Man. It's not going to come together immediately, so you're going to need to be patient. And the Emperor. We also are going to have to make some big decisions. We have to feel empowered, right? Emperor energy puts the responsibility on our shoulders. All right, well, I'm 3-carding this devil card. Like, I want to know what's up with that. That's a weird outcome for that spread, don't you think? I find it to be a little strange. So let's figure out what that devil is. I'm going to reshuffle for this, of course. All right, devil as the outcome. First, I'm going to do 6 cards here. The first 3 will be what that devil really represents, and then the next 3 will be how to manage it. All right. Okay, so the first 3 explains the devil a little bit more in detail. High Priestess, well, there's definitely an element of spiritual connection and cosmic karma here. 3 of Pentacles, same one we got for the thoughts card, right? The crowning thoughts. So this is involving something mental, of course, which makes sense with Mercury there and it all being in Virgo. 8 of Swords and our own self-limiting thoughts. Wow. Yeah. So the devil could be worry. The devil could be obsession. The advice. What are we going to do about the devil? Judgment. We're going to make a big decision. 7 of Wands. And we're going to set good boundaries, not just with other people, but with our own mind. And 2 of Pentacles, remain balanced. So, yeah. Really interesting spread. Really helpful, I think. I hope that you have a marvelous week and that you manage this energy with skill and style. And I'll see you next week. Bye.